Good evening, Rockdale, and welcome to This Week from Rockdale. And as usual, I am your host, Larry Cox. And it is, I don't, it's good to see you guys tonight, but we got a lot of stuff to report about this evening. I put in the thing I put out on Facebook, we were going to talk about fire, flooding, and taxes. It's been a hell of a week in Rockdale when you've got fire, flooding, and taxes are your headlines. I mean, so it's been crazy. And I couldn't do this show tonight without bringing in another local expert on local affairs. And let me bring in my good friend and a good friend to the Rockdale County on the show, Mr. Alex MacDonald. Hey, Alex, how you doing?
What's up, Larry? A local expert on local. I've never, ever been described as that before. Thank you.
You have been described as an internet wizard before.
Yes, that's right, an internet wizard. Yeah. Oh, I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
Man, we're bringing up all the old memories today.
Yeah. Hey, guys.
Having flashbacks. What's up, guys? Thank you for having me, Larry. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
I'm going to go ahead and say hi to some folks else, and we can go ahead. And we actually are already building a large audience. I don't know if you see the numbers. So we are already building a large audience tonight, and I expect it not to do anything but grow. And we are going to, the main story tonight, so everybody's going to know, is going to be BioLab. We are going to discuss that. We're going to talk about some flooding that's happened in Rockdale County. We are also going to discuss the House Bill 581, which was discussed at a town hall yesterday, because, with the taxes that have been happening to everybody here in Rockdale County and what is set for the future, especially with the administrative complex. And I'm going to quit calling it a courthouse, Alex, because it's not.
Right.
It's going to call it what it is, administrative complex. So let me say hi to folks. Mary Boysworth, welcome to the show. Vuka Russo, welcome to the show. Marie Withers, Judy Bond, Lisa Lancaster, CJ Lester, Dan Burks, Angela Asperino, Cheryl Moulton, Ben Garcia, Danielle Moon is our friend from up north and the biggest Tim Waltz fan in the United States. How we go there, Danielle? And I know I'm going to get in trouble for that, Al, but
she'll know you're kidding.
I know. Joey Williams, welcome. Josh Allgood, as he says, a dumpster fire of a county is on fire.
On fire. It's a dumpster fire.
Yeah. So Charlotte Gellert, William Campbell, Hilda Abbott Berry, and Voices for Rockdale. Welcome to the show, everyone, and thank you for joining. And we're gonna get right to the meat of it. Yeah, so, Alex, I think you've done a little research on this BioLab, if I'm not mistaken, today.
I mean, it's hard to find any information. It's been a pretty bad week or two, Larry. There are three things in this world that are guaranteed to ruin your life: fire, floods, and taxes. And we've been hit by all three in the last couple of weeks here. Those of us with property tax bills, anyway.
That was a hell of a headline. Don't you think? I came up with a really good headline. Fires, flooding, and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And with the audience that's building today, it is. We're getting one of our better audiences tonight. We always get good viewership afterwards. People always watch the recordings,
right?
But a lot of people want to watch it live tonight.
So yeah, I've tried to find out what I can about BioLab. Here's let me turn that off and show you these. Let me show you these pictures first of all. This is what we're looking at in Rockdale right now, Larry. Except those pictures aren't from today. Those are pictures that I took in 2004 when Biolab went up in flames, and it's gone up in flames at least 3 times since then.
3 times in the last 7 years, and I know that fact because I have an office that is literally across the road on Black Lawn on the back side of Biolab, and this
Mm-hmm.
is the third time I've been denied, not been able to go to the office, and I don't want to go because I'm not crazy first, right?
Yes.
But this is the third time in 10 years that I've been at that location that we've had a mandatory evacuation because of Biolab.
Yeah. Well, they advertise themselves as a manufacturer of spa and pool treatments, whatever that means. I mean, I assume it means things like chlorine, and whatever things people use to treat their pools and spas, I suppose. I'm not sure whether that's what all they do, but I think it's safe to assume that chlorine is one of the things they deal with. And the last time it went up in flames, chlorine was a concern among the population, among the people back then. Here's the thing. We never actually know what's gone up in smoke over there, Larry, because government refuses to tell us. Even this time around, even now, over 12 hours into this thing, the government, our chief our Rockdale County Fire and Rescue Chief, Marion McDaniel, still says that the cause of the fire and the chemicals involved are unknown. Well, how can that be? How can you fight a fire when you don't know what it is you're dealing with? Wouldn't common sense say, listen, government's always about common sense, right? We need common sense this, we need common sense that. Common sense would dictate to me to reach out to Biolab and say, fellas, what chemicals are we dealing with here?
Alex, they know what chemicals they're dealing with. Because I'm going to tell you, I mean,
absolutely
you and I both know
certain
this, right?
they know.
OSHA requires that they have those data sheets available. That data sheets can be available digitally, but they have to be available to be in print format if requested. But that's how they know what retardants to use to extinguish the fire, because
Exactly.
they know what hazardous materials they're actually dealing with.
Yep.
So
I'm
Alex,
absolutely certain that they know, but they choose not to tell us.
well, let me tell
They're
you what
fine, they're
I
fine telling us what to do when it comes to putting injections in us, right? You got to go get this vaccine. You got to go get that vaccine. But when a company is poisoning us, they don't want to be as forthcoming about what we put in
Charlotte
our
put
bodies.
up here MSDSs, and just so you know, this goes back and forth. But right now, they're not. They don't refer to them as MSDSs anymore. They just do them as DSDSs because they'll drop that M. Okay, I do not know why. Right. So right now they're referred to as DSDSs, just data sheets.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's pretty bad. I haven't reached out to the sheriff because I know he's busy. But
He came right. He made a statement. He's made a couple of statements today. Been right out there with it. And at some point, I mean, he's just in charge of crowd control, this and that. This is an emergency response issue.
At some point, the sheriff, and I think the sheriff will do this. At some point, the sheriff is going to come clean. Right, the government may not want to, the EPA may not want to, but the highest law enforcement official in the county, the man elected to do the job and to keep residents safe, I have a feeling that Sheriff Levitt is going to release a statement soon, letting us know what chemicals were pumped into the atmosphere. And like I said, I haven't reached out to him personally today because I know he's busy, but I have sent a message asking, I tagged him in something, I should say, asking, are you going to issue a statement making it clear the name and types of chemicals that have been pumped into the atmosphere today? Because we have an absolute right to know. And when they issue these shelter in places, which I got to tell you, I think are ridiculous. If you're in the path of this thing, get the hell out, because your doors and windows aren't going to protect you from it. Your homes are not hermetically sealed, safe rooms. If get the hell out of the way. Get out of there. Now the winds are shifting and it's starting to blow south. And so we could end up in the path of this, Larry. And if that's the case, I want to know what we're facing so that I can have the correct conversation with medical personnel when it comes time to treat. You know what I mean?
So just to let you know, the mayor did respond to my question, Alex.
Okay.
And the mayor was told that he was told that the chemicals were chemicals that they could not use water on, that they had to use an alternative extinguishing source, which they did. But several hours later, the chemical fire turned into a building fire, which then they had to start using water, which was causing the reaction that we're seeing all these flumes, which is probably enhancing the chemical fire, right?
Yep.
So, but I am glad the mayor did reach out. Thank you, Vince. I really felt he would reach back out, and he did reach out and gave me that information. Thank you, Vince, for that. And he says it is some form of chlorine, and that's all he knows. And my personal thing, I think it's more than chlorine. I think it's chlorine and other chemicals.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the combination of these other chemicals is what they don't want us to really know. Because if we knew the combination of all these chemicals and what that could cause, do we have another possibility of another Bhopal, India incident where you had over 20,000 people die within a few years and 500,000 or millions of people impacted over the last 50 years with illnesses due to a chemical reaction?
But here's the thing, even if it's just chlorine, chlorine's responsible for millions of murders on this planet, right? Chlorine gas has murdered millions and millions of people on this planet throughout history, primarily in the 1940s. So yeah, chlorine is a major concern. And this, listen, it's a litigious society we live in, so we have to be careful. But this would appear to be a factory that goes up in flames once every 4 years or so. And we're never given any information. We're never given any updates. We're never told what it is that's poisoning us. We haven't been told about any remediation efforts that have taken place. If any, considering it keeps happening, this is a regular occurrence with this company, it would seem. And, I would like for once to see a bit of transparency. Tell us what it is we're dealing with.
Alex, can I tell you what disturbs me the most about this? It is very apparent there is no emergency disaster plan in process that exists in Rockdale County. I come from rural West Virginia, a very rural area. But do you know once a year what they do in the county that I'm from there? They have a mock disaster drill. There are a couple of things that are there. You have coal mines that are there. And we have a lot of rail system that runs through there. So they have a mock disaster each year, and they'll alternate it between it being a mining disaster or a rail disaster involving a chemical spill.
Mm-hmm.
And they coordinate the county authorities, all municipalities, the state authorities, and there's even a National Guard unit that's actually in our county, right? So all of those entities with the local hospitals and the local school systems, they do a mock disaster drill where they set up things in the gymnasiums. They set the hospitals up. If the disaster's in one area and they have to, because there are 3 hospitals in that rural area, right? So they can rotate with each hospital's in a different part. If they have to move things from one to the other, they have it in place, Alex, that they have a plan.
Hold on. Hilda Abbott Berry. Where the fuck is the statement from BioLab that's been issued publicly telling us you can fuck off with that. You can fuck off with that. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. You show me the statement from BioLab telling us what these chemicals are. You can't, because they haven't made one. So get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. But no, you're right. You can't. It's not all government, guys. We've got you. Government needs to take their fair blame for things, but we also need to hold these corporations accountable when they do these type of things. And you're right. And Biolab should have made a statement, but they're not going to make a statement, Alex, because the lawsuits that are going to come.
Of course, they're not going to make a statement. And it's ridiculous. Come on here, run in cover for them. Give me a break. This is, somebody said this goes back to 2004. Take a look again, real quick. Take a look at these photos. These are photographs that I took in 2004 of the very same thing from the very same people. And you want to come on here and say, oh, it's not Biolab, it's not Biolab. Give me a break. Of course, every bit of this is Biolab. The government's not going there starting fires. These are fires starting at Biolab, and they are not prepared to deal with it. These chemical companies should be forced by law to have enough of the fire retardant material on site, in stock, to extinguish these fires before the fire department even have to get there. And they're not. Now, that's a failure of government.
Yeah, they need to have an on-site suppression system.
Yes.
I agree, right? And let me tell you, this is ridiculous. When I look at the magnitude of what's going on here right now, I think that we're doing the best with what we have, but I think this is part of the problem all along here in Rockdale County. Is we're not prepared for anything like this because we're too worried about doing stuff we don't need to do. We're too worried about building administrative complexes that we don't need. We're too worried about providing infrastructure for building that doesn't need to be happen so we can make friends of ours millionaires or multimillionaires on land deals. That we're focusing on the wrong things in Rockdale County. And then, to be honest, we've got limited resources, and this is crazy. We are breathing unknown toxins that we don't know what they are, and we have the right as citizens to know what's going on, and to be told it's product.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that product nonsense.
And Biolab haven't come out and issued a statement to tell us what we're dealing with. So yeah, listen, all right. I apologize. Maybe that was a little bit harsh, but don't come on here saying, well, it's not Biolab that's withholding information, because it is. It is. Biolab have not issued a statement. In fact, going back through the last 4 of these infernos at Biolab, I couldn't find a single public statement that they'd issued informing the public of what they had been poisoning them with, Larry. So yeah, it's not Biolab. Yeah, the hell it isn't.
Okay, listen to this. I like this statement. We got to verify this, but they sent county workers out without respirators while the police and firefighters had them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, what county workers would they have sent beyond police and fire?
They may have had some other folks from some other departments come out there to assist. You know how that goes. But you can't send people to that kind of thing and not have everybody equipped right.
No, that would be kind of stupid. If Oz did that, and when we're talking about county employees, I'm assuming we're talking about employees under the authority of Oz Nesbitt. And if
RDOT, they said it was RDOT that they sent
RDOT,
out.
yeah. That's risky. That's very risky to send people out there with the correct PPE. As when you know you're dealing. The place is called Biolab. You know you're dealing with a chemical fire.
Josh Allgood is ridiculous. Look what he just said. Biolab should have waited till October 1st for the burn ban to be lifted.
Yeah. You know, I was being facetious earlier, but I'm going to say it here because I know other people are thinking it, because I've seen people talking about it on Facebook. Taxes are pretty high in Rockdale, Larry.
Yeah.
What a way to get out of Rockdale.
Yeah. I've seen some people say that too, right?
Now, I want to make it very clear that that's just a joke. I don't believe for one second that BioLab committed arson in order to collect on the insurance and bail out of a high tax county. I don't believe that for one second, and I want to make that very, very clear. But yeah, I've seen the jokes. I've seen the jokes online.
Hey, Alec Clayton put a little thing out there. He busted. He said vaping while bitching about this issue is rich.
I mean, again, so here, Clayton, you can fuck off too. First of all, show me one study that shows this is let's not even say more harmful. Let's show me one study that shows this is as harmful as smoking. I'll show you a dozen of them, including from Public Health England, that shows it's at least 99.6% safer than smoking. So there you go. I do enjoy a bit of science.
CJ, I do not think that you will be able to order your pizza tonight. I think that's not happening.
Right.
But guys, I'm just telling you right now, this just says we have a lot of work to do in Rockdale County, right? One of the things that I intend to ask for there be a citizens committee to put together to establish an emergency preparedness plan, that we do mock disaster drills. That's the only way to be prepared for anything like this, is to go through the process, do a mock drill, do it once a year, make sure that you rotate it between what kind of disasters it could be. And the chemical thing here is very real, Alex, because we have freight and trains that go through Rockdale County, right through the center of Old Town, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, so the possibility of a freight disaster with a chemical spill is a real thing in Rockdale County at any time. Plus, we've got this bio lab. And to be honest, I don't know what other things that we have that are possibilities in Rockdale County that could happen. And I guess, I'm going to have to do a little research and find out what other hazardous type businesses that are in Rockdale County. Now, I'm not somebody who's going to tell you, let's go shut down everything, but I think protocols and safety procedures need to be in place.
Well, yeah, I'm less concerned about the ones that don't catch on fire every 4 years. I can at least say that much.
Well, I've never heard of any of the other ones, so they must have their stuff tight, right? But I am concerned about
something at the what's the one that make the paper cups and whatnot up there on by the Quick Trip on the other side of 20. Something happened there, but I think it was an active shooter.
Yeah, that was an active shooter.
Okay, that wasn't a fire. Yeah, so yeah, that's not as, I mean, that's bad, but it's not a big a threat to the general public.
Yeah, and somebody else just said, don't forget that Rockdale's in the flight pattern of heart. Yeah, they come over my house every day. I mean, so you could have an air disaster here in Rockdale County. I mean, so there are many different things that could happen here, and we need to be prepared and have an emergency readiness response. And we need to have a plan in place for different type of emergencies that could happen. And we need to be conducting mock drills and coordinating all government entities, because we're a small community. And like today, you have the county and the city both involved in this, because everything is so tight. It's going to involve everybody, Al, because we are such a small community, right?
Right. Yeah. Purik says, with an evacuation plan and route, telling citizens to evacuate, but not telling them which way is safe to go is beyond me. I understand that in a way, because you can't tell each person individually which way to go based on their actual location. But a general guideline of, hey, head to this area might have been a bit helpful. They assumed that everybody had access to the Facebook and to the little graphic that they showed, and I'm guessing that they were going around on the ground as well, trying to get people to evacuate. I'm assuming that their efforts weren't all focused and centered on Facebook. but yeah, hopefully people were able to figure out, well, let's go in the opposite direction to the cloud of smoke and poison.
That's what I did earlier today, Alex. I went in the opposite direction. The wind
Yeah,
was blowing north. I went south.
yeah.
So
But
how
yeah,
I just
this company has a history of going up in flames now. And I understand what you're saying about having a preparedness plan, and I don't
but
know
part of the
how
preparedness plans is to identify the threats, and if
well.
you have these threats, then they have to be prepared on site also.
And if you identify these threats, having the correct, I'm not saying that they don't, but having the correct products on hand in order to safely address that threat. For example, whatever kind of foam or chemical retardant the fire department needed today.
Well,
But
this is the thing about it, Alex.
I think the company should have to store that on site in tanks, I mean, ready for the fire. You know how the fire department rolls up and plugs into a hydrant? They should
Yes.
be able to go to one of these chemical plants, roll up and plug into these giant tanks of whatever the approved chemical retardant product is. And that should be at the expense of the company, like companies like BioLab. That should be at their expense, especially this company who keeps doing this every 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, this is this is ridiculous, right? So not only that, Alex, but there's probably limited staffing at 4 o'clock in the morning. So if something happens, they probably don't have the staffing to actually handle something initially that happens.
Right.
Then you've got the response time uh, uh, of how long it would take outside resources to get there to respond. And then by then, if you're dealing with highly toxic, flammable chemicals, what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have time. If you don't have the on-site preparation and response ready, then this is what happens. Is because it gets out of control.
Yeah. This is one instance where I'm inclined not to blame the government. It's usually the government that screws things up. In this instance, it was a private company. But here again, this is the, in my opinion, this is the crux of the problem. This is a company that has a history of doing this. And by this point, I would have expected government to have implemented some kind of plan in order to deal with these people, or implemented some kind of regulation that they have to abide by in order to be able to deal with these things. Put it this way, a lot quicker than they're dealing with it today, with a far lesser risk to the public, because this is bad, man. This is bad. And we don't know what the ramifications of this are. We just don't know, because we don't know what's been pumped into the air. We don't know what the long-term effects on the public health will be.
It keeps being referred to as product, right? So I'm going to tell you a little story. My wife, and I actually watch it with her sometimes, but likes this show called General Hospital, and there's this mobster on there named Sonny Corinthos, and for 30 years he's been on the show, and he's been dealing with this product. We know it's not drugs, it's not guns, but they never say what this product is. So we went to one of those fan events a few years ago, and I actually got to actually ask the executive producer. I said, "Frank, it's been killing me. I've been wanting to know for 30 years what's the product."
Right.
Right? So so it's a mystery product, right? So we know they're producing something. They say it's pool chemicals, but one has maybe a bit of hesitation to believe them, because you don't actually provide the information proving that it's pool products.
Well,
Would that be right, Alex?
What goes into making these pool products, right? I think it's safe to assume chlorine, but what else? What else goes into these things? That's why, again, BioLab haven't issued a statement telling us what chemicals were pumped into the atmosphere. So far, the government haven't told us. I heard earlier that the EPA are coming down. That means we'll never know, because that's what they cover up everything they possibly can. I think this is incumbent on the sheriff. the elected official, the highest, the chief law enforcement officer in the county who is sworn to protect our safety. I think it's incumbent on the sheriff to tell us what was pumped into the atmosphere. And who knows if they'll even let him know what it was.
Oh no, I doubt it. I mean, this is a disaster, right?
This
This
is
is
awful. Listen, I understand this, but I know what's in this. I know every single thing that is in this. I know what's going into my body. I've done the research, right? I was a 2-pack a day smoker. This is far safer. This is a harm reduction strategy for me, but I'm aware of every single compound that's in here that goes into my body. I can't say the same of this biolab fire. I can't say the same of any of these plants that are pumping. You see them burning off and pumping out smoke out of their smokestacks, right, Larry?
mm-hmm.
As you drive by factories, I've no idea what they're pumping into the atmosphere. None of us do. It's not good.
No, but I think we've got a facility that has caught on fire multiple times and has endangered the local.
Called by
called
the clues in the
biolab.
name.
Biolab. The people probably have a right to know what is catching on fire right next to them that may going to kill you one day.
Yeah.
Right? Don't we have you have the right to know what that product is?
And we also have a right to know, let's say it is just chlorine. We have a right to know what happens to chlorine when it's, for example, superheated. When it's in a fire, when it combusts. I don't know that chlorine is combustible, but at the very least, it went through a superheated condition today. Well, what does that do to the chemical? What does that do to the molecular structure of chlorine getting pumped into the atmosphere? These are the things we have a right to know.
Well, Alex, apparently one of the chemicals there, if it gets in contact with water, it flashes. That's what caused the initial fire.
Assuming it's chlorine, yeah.
Well, they didn't say it was chlorine. They said a chemical that has a flashing reaction to water. They didn't say it was chlorine. They just said a chemical that reacts to water. They didn't say chlorine. That's all they said. That's what they said.
I mean,
when a sprinkler valve had malfunctioned.
Yeah, I mean, we put chlorine in water all the time, and it doesn't spontaneously combust. So it must be, if it is chlorine, if the chemical we're talking about is chlorine, then it's something to do with that chlorine chemical compound when it's superheated and introduced to water.
Josh Allgood said World War I showed us what happened to the human body.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, chlorine's responsible for millions and millions of deaths. But again, we don't know what we're dealing with because Biolab haven't issued a statement. The government haven't issued a statement. In all the times this has happened, they haven't issued a statement telling us what we're dealing with.
No, and and the only way it's going to happen if there's pressure put on. Pressure. You got to have pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dan says they should have had sprinklers in the room that chemical was stored. I think they should have had something, right?
Not water. The sprinkler.
I used to design clean rooms, right? And every clean room that I designed had to have a halon system for fire retardation, right? Right? It sucks. A halon effectively sucks oxygen out and puts out the fire. Now, I'm not going to suggest that halon would be a suitable system for a property like this, but maybe it would. But there's something that is. And whatever that is, it should be incumbent on the factory to make sure that is installed and on hand, up to and including any kind of foam type fire suppression, that the fire department may need, that should have to be stored in tanks on the property for the fire department to roll up, plug into those tanks, and go to work. It's ridiculous that that's not well, maybe it is the case, but I haven't heard that that's the case.
Well, this is what Cheryl Moulton said. She heard it on the scanner this morning, and I did talk to Cheryl today. Cheryl said that the fire was black, white, reddish pink, and then green. Chemicals were running down the dock ramps. She heard it on the scanner as the first responders were talking about it.
Yeah. 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 So a list of closures as people are. I got an email here from Jennifer Rutledge. Of course, government is closed tomorrow. The Rockdale County Courthouse and Court Services annexes are closed. The Tax Commissioner's office is closed. The Board of Commissioners are closed. The administration building's closed. Planning and Development closed. Stormwater closed, which is great after flooding. Extension Services closed. Elections Office closed. Senior Services and Animal Services are all closed tomorrow. I imagine there is going to be an extensive list of school closings tomorrow. So
I think we may be on break.
Oh, really? From school?
Yep. I think
Okay.
next week maybe. Well, Alex, I'm gonna let you know. The hospital was evacuated today.
Yes.
The jail was evacuated today.
Yep.
And the most important facility evacuated today was the animal shelter.
Mm-hmm.
So all three of those facilities were evacuated today.
Mm-hmm.
So
They protect themselves, Cheryl
so,
says.
so that
Yes,
so,
they do.
So that all happened.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Well,
guys,
except for the employees that apparently were sent out there without any protective gear this morning. Or this afternoon, whenever it was.
Yeah, I understand OSHA's on site also. Somebody asked. I did hear OSHA was on site. So let me just tell you guys, this is an issue we're going to have to deal with. Yeah, Joy just put on there they are on break next week. School system is, so we don't have to worry about the schools.
Okay.
But guys, this is something we're going to touch base. I'm going to actually touch base on this, Nick. I may actually have to do something midweek to report on this because as I think we find out information, I think we may have to do a midweek show to update.
Right.
Because this is just one of those stories that may require a midweek show, a Wednesday show to update you guys on what's happened and what has been found out since.
Right.
But I do want to move on to a couple other issues facing Rockdale County. So we'll talk about the flooding. We did have limited flooding this time, not as bad as our neighbors up north in North Carolina, up in the Asheville area. And I did have a crew up there, Alex, and I had my crew leave there Wednesday because they were expecting bad weather. And actually, one of the places we were at is one of the places that doesn't really exist anymore.
Right.
So they got hit hard. But when you look at Rockdale County, some of the facilities that the county has built that are next to the rivers, they were totally destroyed. I have
a little video here that if you're okay with it, I'll play.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is I decided to, I was going to go drive around for 10-15 minutes just to check things out on I guess Friday morning, and couldn't actually get off my road because this was there. This is at the end of Cowan where it intersects with Troop Smith, Larry.
Okay.
That is not worth trying to drive through, I'm going to say. Yeah, right. All this money that we've invested in stormwater and yeah, that happens. You know what I mean?
Well, there were a lot of roads that were closed for half a day or so, Al. I'm going to tell you what my assessment is if we would have had rain another half a day more or another day, we would have been in a bad spot in Rockdale County with the flooding.
Yeah.
The fact that it moved through as quick as it did is what was our saving grace. Another half a day or another day of rain would have been bad.
Yeah, and it pushed further east than they were initially predicting it as well. That helped us out a lot. I mean, it's remarkably unfortunate for the folks east of us, but I think it spared us a lot more pain. You know, I'm not going to complain. I lost power for about 6 hours. That was all. And they got it back on. That was Thursday night. So, you know, they were out there. Those linemen were out there working in it Thursday evening. And yeah, good on them. You know, fair play to them getting out and trying to get people reconnected. I think we dodged a bullet. I think we got lucky. as hard as some people here in Rockdale were hit, it pales in comparison to what some of our let's say neighbors faced.
Yep, I agree 100%. So we did have some damage here in Rockdale, some road closures, some and I do want to talk about the disastrous nonsense they built over here at 138 and East Fairview, the little park, the Lorraine Trailhead Park, where they put that canoe ramp. That thing got totally destroyed.
That's what Jennifer's talking about in the chat there.
Yeah, it got totally destroyed. It got 75% destroyed this past spring. This time, 100%. It got demolished.
Yeah.
And, Alex, you can't build something like that with aluminum, with the force of a river like that. You can't do that.
I actually haven't seen it, but I'm going to take your word for it.
That has to be a concrete structure.
You can overbuild anything. It sounds like it was not overbuilt.
It was not overbuilt. I mean,
yeah.
they've got concrete pillars which are there that don't go anywhere,
Right.
and sort of says, well, if the concrete pillars don't go anywhere and they stay, what should the rest of the structure be?
I mean, you would think probably concrete, reinforced.
It should be
concrete.
steel it should be reinforced concrete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should be steel with concrete is what it should be, not aluminum. The aluminum. Hey, all you've got to do is do a study that shows what the pressure per gallon is of that water when that river raises whatever. And it would have not have been a hard study to show that the structure that they made could not withstand that.
Mm-hmm.
Not whatsoever.
The comment disappeared. Hold on. Salvador says, which I assume that's Salvador, is that 15? Snapping Shoals kicks ass for this neighborhood. Yes, I agree. They do. Snapping Shoals, I think, do a wonderful job. And like I said, they had me back up in about 6 hours, which I was not expecting. I can tell you, I was expecting to be without power for at least 24 hours, and they got me back up and running. So yeah, shout out to them. Fair play to them getting the job done. Well done.
Yeah, they do. I think they do a good job on emergencies around here, and that so that's good, right? So what's her name said? Mary Boisler said she walked through 6 inches of water and it almost knocked her on her butt.
Oh yeah, fast moving water. In fact, the news was replete with little factoids like this. 6 inches of fast moving water is enough to take you down, and 12 inches of fast moving water is enough to take your car out. So that according to I think it was Fox 5 who were dropping those little tidbits of information.
And then when you take over there, that was probably 8 feet of additional water.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
8 to 10 feet high of additional water,
Yeah, look, I know people got hit. Some people here in Rockdale got hit pretty hard, and my sympathies obviously go out to them. But for the most part, I think we dodged a bullet. It pushed a lot further east than the initial tracking was showing. I have friends down in South Georgia that got absolutely decimated. You know what I mean? And down in Florida, friends down in Florida that, I actually haven't heard from Diamond Dave, so I should check in on him. But other friends down there who got beat up pretty bad.
I've not seen Dave post either, and I was, you know what I mean? Dave usually posts regularly, and I did not see a post.
Yeah, Danielle's probably spoken to him, so maybe Danny in the chat can just confirm that Dave's okay. But yeah, it was pretty bad. And if we had a stormwater department, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that because whatever. Here's my issue with our.
I actually think I think all of it comes down to mismanagement of funds.
Yes, that's what it is.
It's all mismanagement of funds.
We had a stormwater
this is what
department.
happened.
You go ahead. You explain it.
When we did not have a department and we had 2 or 3 people and we were collecting monies, we weren't collecting a lot of the money because They didn't have it tied into with your taxes, but they were actually able to bid and outsource projects and get them done.
Yeah.
Now we've built this humongous department that has all these vehicles, people, and equipment. We don't have the money now to pay for all that
No money for
and
projects.
do projects.
Yeah.
We
No
were
money for
better
projects.
off having 3 or 4 people that were engineers managing and outsourcing the projects.
Yeah.
We were actually better off doing that. In that, I'm not usually a fan of outsourcing, but in this I would be, because you would be hiring experts. It's just like when municipalities try to do the work that we do,
Yeah.
they do it horribly because
Exactly.
they're not experts, right?
Yeah.
So it's better for them not to have a staff of people to do the kind of work that we do and just contract us, because we do this every day and we're specialists.
Right.
And it's the same thing, right? And that's what we have. But Alex, you've said this years ago. You said what they're doing is they're building a jobs program with your tax dollars.
Right.
And that's exactly what they're doing. It's a
Right.
jobs program with your tax dollars. And they talk about the growth and the expansion, but it's mismanagement, because nothing is actually ever getting done, because it's all in payroll. And you and I were talking about the Board of Education yesterday. And I told you it's so payroll heavy, there's very little money left to actually to do anything with or cut. I mean, you've got a lot of cut. I think we could do at the central office, but the teaching positions, they're already eliminated, because they eliminate them as the reduction at the schools go. They don't fire any teachers. They just have a formula that says, oh, we only have X number of students. This is all we need. So they just don't rehire to that level.
Right.
But they don't do away with any of the funding, and they shift that funding to a central office or a non-essential mechanism, and it's not being used in the classroom. So we're not spending our money efficiently. That's my opinion. Right. And that's something I want to do about when I'm on the school board. I want to take the monies we have, spend them efficiently. But the school board is not involved. I mean, right now they're cut out of that process, because they're saying, well, you're interfering with day to day. No, you're not. State law says that's the school board's job, is to actually set the budget.
Yeah. I wonder if we're prepared for Sharknado, because it's coming next week. We've had everything else, Lisa says.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. So Alex, while we sort of deviated to taxes here with this, we did. So they had a town hall yesterday. Rhonda Taylor did. A good town. It was a standing room only town hall at the library. You was at the last one. You saw how large that room is. So when that's a standing room only, that's a lot of people, right? And we had somebody from the AGGC come in and talk about 581, and he was very knowledgeable of the legislation. And coming out of that meeting, it's exactly what I thought it was. That if you are a homeowner, especially a senior citizen, this legislation is going to help you a lot. Business owner, not so much. Just being real with it, right? A property investor, not going to help you, right? It's not going to help you. But if you're a homeowner, and especially a senior, this legislation is going to help you. And then I found out something else that I thought we knew, but we didn't have the right information. He said that Rockdale and DeKalb counties can keep their host and have the additional penny. And I'm going to let you talk about that, because you have an excellent concept on that, what that actually means.
And this is the one question I've been trying to get an answer to from the get-go. I even spoke to the author of the bill and explained to him, because we're in an unusual situation, right? We're not unique, because DeKalb County have the same thing, but we already have a host. We have a homestead option sales tax. And my question from the get-go was, what happens to our existing host, and do we get to keep it? Is it possible we could end up with 2 of these to provide relief to the taxpayer? And finally, we've got an answer. We got it from the ACCG, of all places. Even the author of the bill couldn't give me a straight answer to it, but apparently the ACCG do know. Apparently we can. So what that means is we'll have the penny from 831. Is that I always 531?
Yeah, we'll call that a lost. We'll call that a local option sales tax, and we'll call the
Okay.
host a host.
Okay, so the new one will be the lost. We'll have the penny from that, and 99% of that, because they keep a penny, they keep 1%, I should say,
Well,
for
but
administration.
100% of what comes to the county goes to ad valorem reduction.
goes to tax relief, and then we have our host, which is our existing penny, where for the
80%.
last number of years, actually 100% of what they've collected has gone to tax relief, but the county have the option of keeping some. Here's what I would like to see. I would like to see the new lost tax, penny tax. I would like to see that with all of its tax relief. And I would like to see our host remain in place, along with a local resolution that states that from now on till eternity, 100% of that revenue has to be used for tax relief, and eliminate the option entirely of the county keeping a percentage of it if they choose to.
Which DeKalb County already did that.
To me, that would be the ideal situation, and I'll tell you why. The amount of revenue, a penny is a penny, right? When the host collects a penny, the splost collects a penny. It's a penny to a penny. Whatever one collects, the other does. The same will be true of this lost penny. Whatever the other two collect, this will also collect. Well, we know from the government this year that the amount of money collected for host was enough to fund about 50% of tax relief.
It did 51%.
Did 51% of tax relief.
For everybody who qualified for a homestead.
For everyone that qualified for homestead. That means that with it, assuming the government don't jack up spending and increase M&O the way Oz Nesbitt has been for the last 8 years, doubling us from 60 to 120 million dollars a year. God knows where that money is going, but you know what? Maybe the next administration can answer those questions. But what that means is that if we had the lost and the host, and they collect the same amount of revenue that was collected this year, that means that next year, the two combined will be able to provide 100% of tax
against your county
your county taxes. There's still your school taxes, but you know, we have new people going to the school board. Maybe we'll see a bit of relief there. Who knows? We shall see. But as far as your county taxes go, with a combination of the host and the lost, we should theoretically, without massive spending increases by government, we should see enough revenue collected for 100% tax relief. So,
and that's what, with Charlotte asked, would that be a resolution for the BOC, or it would actually have to be?
I don't know. That's the thing.
I'm going to let you. I know what it would have to be. It would actually have to be local legislation that would be introduced by our delegation.
That's what I figured, because it was local legislation that
and then Bill Campbell says the problem with that, it only affects the county M&O. But this is my thing about this. We got to quit bitching about when we get something, accept what we can get, and don't think we can get 100% of everything.
Yeah.
We've got to take the small victories.
Yeah, I mean,
take small victories.
Does it matter if it's 50% county, 50% school?
It doesn't matter.
100% county, 100%.
It's all the same savings.
It's to us, the taxpayer, at the end of the day, with the check we write, it's the same amount of money. It's the same tax relief, and that's why that's what these things were. Our host was implemented for tax relief. This is going to be implemented for tax relief. It's good for the taxpayer at the end of the day. And
this is the thing about it. I've heard people complain about 581. Well, it doesn't cap millage rates, and it doesn't. It was never. That's not what it was intended to do. It was intended to stop the gouging of the evaluation of properties for homeowners in Georgia.
Yeah.
And that's what the legislation does. It freezes your home values so they just can't keep gouging you with them, right?
Yeah.
And Bill put the 80% of the tax bill comes in the school system. Again, this is false information. right? Let's talk about that. It is 80% because the school board doesn't get any of the offsets, right?
I'm going to
If the
go
county
to
didn't get the host offset, then it would be right about the same thing minus whatever the percent would be of the millage rate difference. So
yeah.
we got to talk apples to apples when we talk this.
Well,
So
and while we're talking about this, I'm going to go to the tax commissioner's office real quick. I'm going to look up a random property, and we're going to. I'm not going to show the name or anything like that, but I'm just going to find a random. I'm just going to type in a random name here.
yes, Russo, they can raise the millage rate, but there will be immense pressure on them because now they use the fact that it's your property that's causing it. We're not raising your taxes. Your property values are increasing. That has been giving them cover for years. The intent of this legislation was to take that cover away so that you could hold elected officials accountable when they just outright raise your taxes. And if you don't like what they're doing, they can't hide behind it and you get rid of them.
Yeah. All right. View PDF. Let me. I'm going to have
That's
to.
right, Catherine. It is not applicable for people who don't have homes. And this is what I have said all along. This legislation helps homeowners. It helps people who this legislation is going to help the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
It is going to help seniors and the most vulnerable.
Bear with me here a second. Let me see if I can get this to show up here.
And that's what we have to realize, guys, is this legislation, and Janice just made a comment. I will be working with the community stakeholders to ensure the health and well-being of our citizens and employees. And Janice and I'm sure you're referring to the biolab nonsense and all that and everything. And I do want to talk to you about at some point, I would like to be on a committee for an emergency response. We can have all the damn, George, and I thank you for sharing that documentation. We can have all the documentation in place. If we don't practice it or do anything or implement anything, paper is only worth what you do with it to your butt in the bathroom and throw it in the toilet paper. It's all it's worth. Yeah. Right? So paper doesn't mean anything. Action is what it's totally what it means.
All right. So I'm trying to avoid showing any personal information here. This is just a random property I pulled up. I just typed in a name and picked a local property. This one is this one's fairly inexpensive property as well. But if you look at the county M&O, it's $974, and school M&O is $1,042. There's less than $100 between them, Larry.
But before you take out the host.
Before you take out the host, that's the key. So yes, when you factor in the tax rebate, and that's what it is, it's a rebate because we pay the host throughout the year. Whenever you go to the grocery store, whenever you're doing your shopping, you're paying that sales tax. You're effectively prepaying your taxes. Then at the end of the year, you get a credit back. You get a rebate of the money you've prepaid. But your actual county portion of the taxes is almost identical to the school's portion.
It's just going to be the small difference between what the millage rate is. If they happen to set the same millage rate, it's going to be the exact same thing, Alex.
Right. And
right,
it's
because the counties is 20 and the BOEs is 20 and the counties is 18 point something.
Yeah,
so that's the difference.
Just to be, I'm searching for again another random name, and just to be sure that wasn't a anomaly, I'm going to pull up one more bill, but let me redact this and. Yeah, just bear with me because I got to make sure I'm not sharing somebody's personal information.
Yeah, you got to do some deleting and redacting. There you go, Alex.
So here's another one. This has an adjusted fair market value of $342,000. County M&O 2,276, and school M&O 2,436. And you're going to find that is consistent across every tax bill, at least for residential property.
So when they kept saying when people keep saying this 80 or 82% thing, that's misleading information.
Yeah, it's misleading. Yeah, you maybe the check you write at the end of the year, that's true, but that's not reflective of everything you've paid.
It is misleading information.
Hmm.
The school is not 80% of your tax bill.
Right.
It is, but it isn't, because you get a credit because of the other tax you've paid during the year, the penny tax, which we're all paying to go. We're
Yeah.
prepaying. I like it how you say we're prepaying a portion of our
Exactly.
tax.
We're prepaying our taxes. And the reason the school portion is higher is because they have a higher millage rate. They're at 20 mils. The county is at 18.69 mils. If they were both the same millage rate,
It would be the
those
exact
dollar
same.
amounts would be the exact same.
They
Because
would
they're
be the
both
exact
using
same.
the same they're both using the same net assessment for taxation. So yeah,
And somebody else just made a point. Go pick. I wish you could find one that don't have a homestead exemption, because then what you're going to find is they're almost dead even.
yeah, they're going to be dead even. Your millage rate,
Because
it's
Catherine Lynn just mentioned that it's only
yeah.
true if you have a homestead.
Well,
Exactly, Catherine.
it's only true. Well, it's not even true in that instance, right?
No.
Even when you have the homestead exemption, it's still not a true statement.
Because
You just
that-
happen to have a tax rebate. You have
And-
a
and it's-
rebate for a portion of it.
But that tax is still getting paid. It's just getting paid by the host.
Yeah,
Your tax bill is still getting paid at that amount. You're just not having to pay that other amount. Host is paying it for you.
exactly.
But
Well,
that's still your tax bill.
you're getting a rebate for it's money that you've prepaid throughout the year, and you're getting a rebate for it if you have the homestead exemption. If you don't have the homestead exemption, you're paying the full amount for both county M&O and school M&O in one check at the
Alex,
end of the
could
year.
you pull one of them up again and just real quick do the math and say what the actual percent is between the difference?
The percentage difference between the two?
Yeah.
8%?
Yeah, it's not a lot. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not. It's
Maybe.
not.
I'm just trying. I'm doing that.
Yeah,
in my
just
head,
a quick
but maybe
calculation.
8%?
Yeah, but that's what I figured. It was under 10% difference.
Yeah. I can actually run the numbers, but go ahead and talk. Oh wait, you're looking at that still, and I want to make sure I don't throw out anybody's information. But yeah, I'm sure I can.
And then
It's
Catherine,
seven-
I
it's
want
seven.
to. It's 7%. I want to put this.
7.009%.
And this is Catherine makes an excellent comment about this, right? She says, exactly, Alec. It's misleading comment repeated for years by the BOC to divert the attention to the BOE when it comes to taxes. And you made a
Yes.
comment the other day too, and I want you to talk about this. The reason why the host has shrunk. Talk about that, Alex. Why has the host percentage shrunk? Tell the people.
Because government have increased spending, and I also have another
They've
theory.
they've
and I don't know-
they've outspent the tax. How much they've outspent
Yeah.
the taxing.
Plus, and this is this is speculation. We have a lot of development that's taken place in Rockdale, Larry, but a lot of these places are sitting empty, right? A lot of developments, a lot of
Tisha
homes.
Washington said yesterday she is billing these developers, and she made this comment. She did say they're being billed the full amount, and they're not getting any because they don't have to give them any deductions.
So they're getting no host. Okay,
Nothing.
good. They're not even being allocated a portion of it.
No.
So because here's my concern is that we've been, and apparently this isn't the case. And thank you, Tisa, for clarifying that. But this is what my concern was. We're building these homes and we're adding them to the tax digest. And let's say you go from, I'm going to use round numbers. You go from 100 homes to 200 homes. right? 1 year, host was divvied up between 100 homes. Okay, each home is allocated X%. Well, this year it's divvied up among 200 homes. Each home's allocated X%, regardless of whether people are living in that home or not. That was my concern, and apparently that's nothing to be concerned about. So,
Well, but you do have a concern because some of those homes have been sold and they are doing that. So that and I brought that concern up yesterday and she agreed with it because the number of homes has grown over the last 5 or 6 years, and that has also diluted
well,
the host.
but theoretically, and hopefully this turns out to be the case. Theoretically, the people into moving into those homes are also out shopping in Rockdale and contributing to host, and the host will increase along with the the additional
Well,
population.
but,
In a perfect world, that's how it would work.
well, but I don't think the penny's going to keep up with the what's going on.
Two pennies might.
Two pennies might, but the penny
So-
can't.
So yeah, two pennies might. So let's do. I say we fight for what we can get, and that's the host and the lost. That's my suggestion. Fight for both.
And I'm 100%. And Alex, I'm going to tell you what. And this is, I mean, some people got a little upset yesterday when they found something out. Right? The guy from ACCG said point blank. This is what he said. He said, "This pay," and I read the question. Right? It's going to pass because it point blank says, this resolution will reduce your property taxes, right? It's what it says. People are going to vote for it. But then he says, then it's up to you to make sure your local representatives don't opt out. So people were upset when they found out they could vote for something and then their local officials just ignore what they say, bypass them and opt out. And that's what I made the comment. I said, in Rockdale County, you may have 50, 60,000 voters, but at the end of the day, you pass it, 16 people get to decide your fate on this.
Right.
The members of the Board of Education, the Board of Commission, and the City Council.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know. I don't know if you want me to try and bring these over, but Jennifer sent me a bunch of photos of this. Oh God, just pure destruction at this kayak ramp.
Yeah, go ahead and show them.
Let me see if I can bring them up. Then bear with me.
We'll do that real quick, and then we've ran over, but we're not really running over because it's not like we're.
I mean, we're technically we're not on a time limit. You know,
we're not on a time limit. No.
Yeah. Let me just talk about something fun then, and bear with me because I got a fair bit.
Well, we got a couple of things coming up in Rockdale County here in the future. We've got the Latino Fest, and we've got the Fall Festival in October. And then at the end of the month, they've got this really fun thing that's going to happen in Rockdale County at the end of the month. It's it's a film festival kind of thing, and they're going to have all these stars from the Vampire Diaries and all that that stuff, and also a bunch of Hallmark movie stars. So I intend on going because I'm a Hallmark movie fan.
Is this in Covington?
It's in Conyers.
In Conyers. Oh,
in Conyers. It's going to be a 4-day event in Old Town.
That's fun. And I've how can I put this? I've hung out with those people before over in Covington when they had an event, and I was over there with the radio station and all the Vampire Diaries. Not all of them, but some of the cast of the Vampire Diaries were over there with us, hanging out. It was good fun. Sorry, I'm still trying to organize here. All right, here we go. This is a lot, so bear with me.
It's okay. We're good. Just tell me when you're ready to put something up.
Oh, I will.
But I think the guy. There are about a dozen counties. Somebody mentioned something about the millage rate for the Board of Education. There are about a dozen counties in the state that have millages that are above 20 for the Board of Educations. DeKalb County, they're even at 25. So that's not it may even be more than a dozen. The normal cap is 20, but there are a lot of boards that have above. But you got to remember, your Board of Commission has no cap. Your cities have no cap. So if they want
Mm,
to charge you 100, they can charge you 100 meals. So BOCs and cities have no cap whatsoever. How do you think they can pass a resolution and send it for bonding that they can tax you an unlimited amount because they have the ability to, because there's no cap on their millage rate ability?
right. All right. I got some photos ready. If you want to full
Okay,
screen me,
go
people
ahead,
can
man.
take a look at these.
You mean turn me and you off?
I don't know what you're going to do. Let me see there, and then I'll bring in some photos. All right, let's take a look here. These are some photos that I was just sent. And I'll just flip through these. I'm assuming this is part of that aluminum structure, Larry. Your
Yes, it
mic's
is.
off. Oh,
Yes,
okay, there
yes,
you
it
are.
is. I got to turn it on to do it. Yes, it is.
That's okay. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, that's oh, and there we go back to 2004 photos. Yeah, that's some damage right there, brother.
Dude, and that's a lot of money. And that's the second time that that structure has been destroyed.
Is it really?
It was destroyed this spring, and then they put it right back up. And you know what? And there's no use to put that back up. If they're going to do that, they've already spent the money on it, and I'm sure that company's insured and bonded, and they've got to do something. Now it's time to come back and say, okay, your engineering was off.
Right.
Now you're going to have to come in here and build a concrete structure, a reinforced concrete structure, is what you're going to have to do.
By the way, and I don't know if this is I don't know if I need to say this. I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if I'm stepping on any toes saying this. One of at least one of these photos, and I don't know if this is Jennifer's company, is tagged Skywatcher Photography. So if it is Jennifer's company, then go find Skywatcher Photography and follow that. But yeah, that's some damage right there, brother.
So Cheryl says that Andrew Hammer says it was meant to break away.
It was designed to break away.
So it's designed to break away and tear up every time.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good design, Alex. Can Cheryl? I'm going to say something, and I'm sorry if you guys get offended. I'm calling bullshit on that. Calling bullshit,
Well,
Alex.
yeah, I mean, I'm not I'm not familiar with any bridge structure that is designed intentionally to
To break
collapse
away. Yes.
due to flooding or wind. Yeah, and I imagine we would have a lot more problems than we do if we lived in a world where bridges were designed to collapse under those circumstances. But hey, you know what? If that's what they're saying, apparently, Larry, that's what they're telling the public.
Well, Alex, but I got the right to say it. I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah, yeah, they're treating it like a crumple zone on a car is what they're doing. Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. You know what's sturdier than that? A
Well,
rope bridge.
yeah.
An Incan rope bridge survives tornadoes. I don't know that they're Incan, but you see what I'm saying.
Oh, you're right. 100%. 100%. Well, man, I'll tell you, Alex, I think this has been a very informative show. We've let people know what's going on. I think we'll get some more information about BioLab, the fire that never gets extinguished. So
Boy, I'll tell you what, man, those guys. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say midweek. And I'm curious if I'm curious. You know, the BioLab sympathizers were in here earlier. I'm curious to see if BioLab issue a statement and actually come clean and say, "Oh, by the way, this is what we poisoned you with. Sorry, our bad."
exactly. Exactly. Well, guys, I'm going to just thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. We went over a little bit, but you know what? Well, we didn't really go over. It was necessary. We had a long show tonight, a lot to cover. We had a lot of things happen in Rockdale County this week, and hopefully we have a lighter week this coming week because we can use a break, right?
Right. Yeah,
Use a
we
break. So, guys, thanks for joining us, and I am going to do something Wednesday, give you guys an update on some stuff going on. So I'll join you at 8 p.m. Wednesday, and we'll let you know what's going on. Alex, well, you got anything to say to the folks?
Nope. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tolerating me another night. Larry, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's been fun.